Hey YouTube, this is Kelvin, and I have the fifth and final game from the eighth round of the 2020 Altibox Norway Chess Tournament. And as you guys know, Levon Aronian and Jan-Krzysztof Duda, they drew their game during regular play, and so they have to go to this Armageddon game here to do the tie break and see who actually officially wins the round. So if you guys are ready, let's go ahead and just take a look. Like I said before, I'm going to be doing just kind of like some light commentary through the game at certain crucial points, or if there's any like little um, type of chess knowledge or a certain concept or something I feel like it should would be good to mention. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and take a look at this game here, guys. All right, so we have e4, e6. So we have the French defense, d4. d5, almost all games in the French start this way. Knight to c3, you also have knight to d2 as options. All right, so we have the French Rubinstein. Bishop d7, knight to f3. And this is the Fort Knox variation of the French Rubinstein. There's sometimes you'll have like some trouble on, normally what you want to try to do with your bishop is fianchetto it on the queen side. So you'll go b6 and then bishop e7, but there are definitely some tactics and some little bit of danger with you having your king in the center of the board still. So you can kind of run into a lot of trouble and stuff like that. And if you notice, white went b3 and bishop a3, and so it just kind of like messed the king up as far as trying to castle and stuff like that. It's a pretty common concept. You'll have you'll have a g3 or a b3 or b6 g6, and you'll put the bishop on the rim, just to obstruct the king's path into castling and stuff like that, which in this game it didn't really seem to too much matter because he just kind of nestled himself right there on g7 anyway. So just have a redirection of the knight. All right, so g4, pretty ambitious, trying to knock the knight out of the way. And then we have a queen, because the queen is undefended, so that's a nice little in-between move. It's called a Zwitsch and Zook. It's just it's known as an in-betweener or in-between move. Now it's interesting that he doubled his pawns here with this though. But if you notice, when he did capture the queen, he did capture into the center, which is generally what you're going to want to do. If you're going to double your pawns, you do want to generally do it towards the center. Of course there are exceptions to every rule. So, it's generally you want to do it, but I mean, every now and then, the position, it just might be better to capture away from the center. It just depends on the position. All right, so we're trying to see if the bishop can be better than the knight here. Looks like there's going to be some trades going on the d file. Yeah, so we got the rooks coming off the board here, because there's not really a way that the rooks can stay on that d file. Yeah, you see those double pawns are kind of coming back to to haunt Aronian now. Trying to see if you can do something about it. It's a kind of curious capture here because if you notice, you have double pawns on the king side there. That are kind of, I mean, the front pawn is doing pretty good at preventing the movement of these two pawns. But you definitely you have a passed pawn now for black, and so that's that's a very dangerous thing to have at any point as a passed pawn. And so you notice that he's having to try to either put the bishop or the king in the way to try to stop the pawn. So anytime your opponent has a passed pawn, it in an endgame like this, you have you kind of have some responsibility to prevent its movement. And so unfortunately, like you'll end up using a heavy piece or a minor or major piece, or you'll be using your king to try to block the pawn instead of maximizing the movement and the effectiveness of your pieces. And so you want to try to avoid that as much as possible. And then at the same time, if you're on the white side of that, or you're on the offensive side of that, you definitely want to make every effort to, create the possibility in front of the pawn to push the pawn. So you're gonna try to defend this this space heavily, this square heavily. Try to like knock the pieces away, because you notice that the king is trying to defend this pawn, this square, and so is the bishop. So his pieces are kind of tied down. So now the bishop is pretty much stuck in that spot, and the king is looking like it's trying to go to the queen side to see if he can try to create some type of pass pawn of his own. And so now we're in a situation where the white bishop actually can't hold that spot, that e4 square on his own, with the king not there. And so it's a pretty interesting maneuver that you see here, a triangulation of the king. Normally in king and pawn endgames, triangulation can give, if you basically, that's exactly what it looks like. I'll kind of rewind back, move about 60, all right, 58. I'll rewind back at the end and just kind of, just be able to show you that concept a little bit better. And generally, it's a good thing to do. So, I mean, you can tell that he, gained some ground, but unfortunately, like I said, it's pretty much all about this pass pawn. And there's not really, now you have 2 pass pawns, 3 pass pawns now. So it's like, I mean, you can just see the position, just kind of getting, worse and worse. And, bishops are very strong, but, there's not a way that a bishop is going to be able to protect against all three of these pawns. So if we just back up here just a little bit to, let me see. Back up here a little bit. If you notice when the king comes here, so the king comes here, and then this king is going to go step over to this square. And then the king pretty much goes back to where it came from before. But instead of basically repeating the position, it sidesteps over here. So let's say that, for example, like all of these pieces aren't here, and we're trying to force, our way into this position here. This would actually be something that would come very much in handy. And what it's called, this concept is actually called triangulation. Basically, if you're going to go back and forth and they're going to go back and forth, it's pretty much just going to be a draw. But it's kind of a way, it's almost like having like a reserve tempo somewhere. It's kind of a way for you to repeat the position and give the move to the opposing side. So if you notice, when we come back and black comes back into the same square and you come up, get off there. When you come up, now black has to actually give a little bit. And like I said, in this particular position, it doesn't really matter because you do have this pass pawn. And it's not so much important about what's going on over here. It's about this pawn. So ultimately at the end, we fast forward just a little bit. It just really just became, about that pass pawn and then the further pass pawns. And there's just not really a whole lot I can do in this position here. Black went ahead and won this one. White needed to resign this one. This is just a completely lost game. All right, so that is the end of round 8. And that is Jan-Krzysztof Duda defeating Levon Aronian to take his win in that round. And I will see you guys next time. I'll be posting some more videos tomorrow on the round 9 results and stuff like that. So, all right, go ahead and subscribe, guys. Let me know what you think. If you like the board, if you like, the things I have to say, if, you have any other types of videos you'd like for me to make, I'm definitely, open to, suggestions and, whatever you guys think and stuff. I appreciate you guys' feedback and, any suggestions or, stuff that you guys want to see. I definitely want to make stuff that you guys want to, watch and enjoy, and are entertained by and stuff like that. So, all right, I'll see you guys next time. All right, appreciate it.